Hello everybody, my name is Niliam and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very special video for you guys. I am working on several collections at the same time, and one of the best ways to work on collections is to work on multiple backgrounds at the same time. That way it cuts down on the actual duration of creating. So today I actually have my little helper here. We are going to create a chaos pour on two 10 by 20 pieces of canvases, and both of them are going to actually be parts of the collection. They're both going to turn into two completely separate pieces, but at least they'll have the same or similar backgrounds, really. That being said, let's get right into it. All right, so let's get started. So for a chaos pour, you're going to need your set of colors, which in this particular case, we tried to do as complementary of colors as we could. And you want to mix it to a proper consistency with your medium of choice. In my case, all my mediums is Floetrol and water. And then I mix it with my Liquitex Basics, sometimes just regular Liquitex brand paints, acrylic paints, and then that's kind of my mixture. And so I make sure that all of the paints were at the same consistency. And as you can tell in the video, we went ahead and layered the paints, not necessarily in any particular order, literally a chaos pour, if you will. So just pouring the paints all over, making sure that every piece of the canvases were covered with some type of paint, regardless regardless of the color. But I wanted to make sure that both of the 10 by 20 canvases did have some of all of the colors. I then went back in with a little bit more white, just to kind of give it a little bit more pop, and more importantly, because of the fact that acrylics dry way darker than they look when they are wet. I went ahead and wanted to make sure that it wasn't as dark because of what I envisioned for the piece. So as I was blowing it out, my son was very intent on watching everything because that's his favorite part. And he was like, "Mommy, I feel like we're missing some golden," because that's his favorite color. And so we went ahead and added some gold ribbon as accents for everything. And this is how it turned out. So it's now a couple days later and our piece is fully dry. So both of the panels are fully dry. We're only going to use one for this particular piece. So this one here is going to end up being a dancing ballerina. And I went ahead and started my sketch. So normally what I do is I try to sketch as best as I can, and then once I start painting, then I edit along the way, depending on how I feel or if something looks better one way, or depending on how it flows, especially with different backgrounds. I just like to let the piece kind of morph along the way. That being said, right now I'm just sketching everything out and then setting up, making sure I check on the types of paints I'm going to be using for the actual piece and the colors and composition, things like that. Just to kind of get a general idea of where I want the piece to end up. All right, so let's get painting. So I am using a bunch of different paints, a bunch of different brushes, and a bunch of different techniques just to kind of make sure that I get the end result I want. In this particular piece, like I mentioned earlier, it's going to be a dancing ballerina. And I started off by blocking the actual ballerina, itself, just to make sure that I have a good enough balance of where the actual ballerina is going to end up and how big, things like that. And that's what I'm doing here, just wanting to make sure that I do my due diligence, making sure that everything looks, I guess, decent, if you will. Along the way, I did notice that the paint that I was using was kind of translucent and everything was kind of popping through from the background, because, of course, we already have our beautiful background there. And so I went ahead and actually made that same paint. I mixed it with white to make it more saturated, and that then allowed me to actually get a very nice coating, if you will. um, and so I was able to actually make the background fade to the point where you can't really see it, you can't really see through it. um, and then as I went along, I went ahead and did two coats of the actual skin because, again, I needed to block that out, make sure that the background wasn't going to pop through. Um, and in this particular case, I wanted to make sure to add even more texture, even more movement to the dancer herself. And so I used a palette knife for the actual dress part of, the actual ballerina. And of course, considering that a lot of people don't want to see the entire process, I'm going to speed it up so that we can get to the final piece. And here we are. This is how it ended up before all the detailing and everything like that. So one thing I like to do to kind of accent the pieces once they're fully dry is to go back in with an actual really fine Sharpie marker and kind of detail some of those lines. Make sure that everything pops, if you will. I also go back in with maybe like some liquid gold leaf and kind of give even more details, even more accent, just to make sure that the piece kind of has all the elements, if you will, that you would need to kind of give it that finished afterglow, if you will. And so that's kind of what I'm doing here. Just wanted to make sure to go in with those fine lines and give it that final touch, if you will. And there you have it. This is our final piece with all the details and basically finished product. At this point, it's going to be added to the collection that will be on sale come January, and it's going to be amazing. So definitely don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and definitely stay tuned for the next piece because we're going to use the second panel to create a different I want to say it's another lady. So, yeah. So, stick around, and I definitely look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Bye.